Here to break this down is our legal panel. We have constitutional law attorney and Newsmax contributor Amir Benno. Also with us is distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum, and our special guest, political analyst Mark Halperin. Amir, I want to start with you. Walk us through these 37 counts and your reaction again to the unsealing of this indictment.
Right. Well, so the 31 of the 37, as you said, charged what's known as the Espionage Act. This is willful retention of documents, essentially saying Donald Trump kept documents that he had no right to have. Very tough case for them to prove. One, they chose to pursue it under a willful theory as opposed to what's known as gross negligence, which means they have to show that he deliberately did it. And they have to show that he didn't have a right to have any of these documents under the Presidential Records Act. Going to be a tough hurdle to clear for the government on that. And it's also going to be politically fraught because he's going to have to explain why he's going after Donald Trump on this. And we'll see if the special counsel, Robert Hur, goes after Joe Biden, although nobody expects him to prosecute Joe Biden for the same conduct. The second charge is obstruction or conspiracy to obstruct. And this is ridiculous because they say that Donald Trump suggested to his lawyer that they destroy documents. A suggestion by a harebrained idea to a lawyer by a client is not a conspiracy. The third one is obstruction of justice. They have to show that he corruptly concealed records. That word corruptly is going to be the operative one here because the Supreme Court has recently held in a case that they're not going to expand the definition of some of these vague terms like corrupt. Again, he's going to have a challenge, Jack Smith is, with that. And the final one is a false statement one. They said that Donald Trump caused his lawyers to make a false statement to the FBI. The problem with this is that the statute doesn't talk about a defendant causing somebody else to make an inaccurate statement. It talks about the defendant himself or herself making a false statement. Donald Trump never did that. So this is subject to dismissal as well. Every single one of these charges is weak. We can expect there to be significant motion practice if this case ever gets to trial. Well, I don't think it will.
Thane, I want to ask about the evidence that's stacked against the former president right now. Many analysts have said that it's pretty damning, from what is referred to as a clumsy effort to move those boxes and allegedly hide them from the FBI, a damaging admission caught on tape, Trump's own public statements that can be used against him, and documents that were found in a shower. How do you expect all of that to be used?
Well, clearly, Kilmeny, that's the key to their indictment, right? That we cannot claim, Donald Trump cannot claim that he didn't know he had classified documents, that he had no intention of keeping them, and that he certainly was not involved in concealing them. So if this evidence is correct, this just shows that he had much more personal involvement. But let me tell you what I was troubled by in yesterday's press conference. You keep hearing the same quote. We heard it from Jack Smith. One set of laws apply to everyone. No one is above the law. The problem here, and Amir mentioned it, is the Presidential Records Act. There is actually one law that applies to only one person, and that's the president.
Right.
So when you say, yes, it's true that a private citizen or an employee at the Defense Department, he or she can't take this stuff home, but a president is given, and there's a specific statute that only applies to him. And you'll notice the mainstream media, I've been on your show numbers of times, I'm always banging on the table about the Presidential Records Act because it puts it in a very different category. Unless you have a president of the United States who's selling classified material to a foreign country or destroying it, unlike Hillary Clinton, who destroyed evidence and was never the president. So that law would not have applied to her. The president of the United States retains a possessory interest in documents created during his presidency. Should he have been moving them around the way he did? I don't know how that's going to play. I do know this. I'm from Florida, and Floridians, especially in South Florida, are very suspicious of governments going after their political rivals. And for them, that's what they're going to see, that in the end, wait, he didn't destroy it, he didn't sell it, and if Thane Rosenbaum is right, he had the right to possess it? What? The mere possession is the Espionage Act? That has never been true in any other application of the law before, and it's clearly being selectively prosecuted here.
Great points, Thane. And then you have President Biden, who had a box near his garage.
And Jolene, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
He wasn't president either when he took it. So that law doesn't protect him. It only protects a president.
Well, the Espionage Act is something that Congress has been talking about reforming for a really long time. It's very broad. But Mark, what happens on Tuesday? Walk us through the optics of that and how you think it's going to impact the former president's campaign as the GOP frontrunner.
Well, his team is still working with authorities. The Secret Service is still working with court officials. And so they're going to try to make this as normal as possible. It'll be somewhat similar to what we saw in New York when he was arraigned on the state charges. But there's also the question of what happens outside the four walls of the courthouse, because Donald Trump is a pretty good television producer. And we expect that there'll be some sort of event, whether it's a primetime address or a video or something. There are no cameras in the federal court, and so that will be a black zone. We're not going to see anything in there, and so he has the opportunity to produce the television images he wants based on his arrival and based on what he wants to do to camera.
All right. Mark Halperin, stick around. Amir Benno, Thane Rosenbaum, great to see you both. Always love having you here.
Thank you, Kilman.
Thank you.